All right, just got done watching the Trump news conference, his first since being elected president, and I have to say it was hilarious. Trump is hilarious, and I always knew if he got elected president, we'd be in for 4 years of fun, at least when it came to his news conferences, and this one did not disappoint. Markets jumped around on some of the stuff he said, but actually was not a big influential factor from what I can see right now. Uh, just if I could make a political comment here, personally, I love the fact that Trump is hitting back, exposing the intelligence establishment here in the United States, some of which I think has gone rogue. The CIA, which is conducting, it seems to me, almost a sort of coup against Trump's presidency, trying to undermine his presidency. And I think that is a very dangerous thing for the United States. And I fully support Trump's, exposing of what they're trying to do, smacking them down. Because they have almost unlimited power. They are not really subject to any particular law. So I think it is very important what he has done in that regard, and I support it. I don't want to. I know my channel here is about markets. It's about economics. I don't want to veer off into politics, but that is my personal opinion on that subject. Um, what I wanted to say in that last video I made about Trump's prospective appointments to the Fed, I spoke about Janet Yellen's term being up in a year, and Trump, several times over the course of his campaign talking about the negative effect of low interest rates. I mean, he said he likes it personally because he was speaking as a real estate developer, but he talked about how, it takes income away from savers, it takes income away from the middle class. Uh, I think the important takeaway in that, and what's interesting to me, is that you see how the markets reacted to Trump's election, okay, to his election to be the next president of the United States. Stocks went straight up. All right, we had the dollar going up. We had gold going down. So there was this belief in that Trump victory that he was going to put through this big fiscal stimulus. He was going to be great for the economy. There was going to be another boom like Reagan. Yet at the same time, and all of that, by the way, has yet to be seen. I've spoken about that. We're probably going to get a corporate tax cut, which would just basically legitimize or institutionalize the rate that corporations are now paying, which is about 15%. And I've gone over the numbers. We'll probably see some deregulation. In terms of spending, in terms of that infrastructure thing, what's being proposed now is a public-private partnership. So we don't know the effect of the stimulus. We don't know how big it's going to be. We'll see that for sure in the numbers. But what's interesting to me is there hasn't been any reaction really in the bond market. I guess you could say, you might be able to assign some of the sell-off in the Treasury market to, I guess, Trump's more hawkish position on monetary policy. But really, you're looking at a major change, a major shift, I think, in monetary policy over the next 4 years, because you're going to have a Trump Fed, which is going to be much more hawkish. I gave you a couple of names of guys who are in consideration now: Hubbard and John Taylor and that guy Kevin Warsh, right? These guys are monetary policy hawks. I mean, they want rates higher. They believe that's what we need, that the government needs to pay more interest on its own money. So that is, that's price setting higher. It's an expansion of federal spending. So that ought to be interesting. And I think it suggests for the next 4 years, you could already say Treasuries are going to be in a bear market. So, I mean, I would be a seller of Treasuries on rallies. And if you agree with my view that higher price setting, more inflation, higher levels of government spending, maybe expanding deficits, that's bearish for the currency. It's bearish for the dollar. That's my position. That's the MMT position. That's not just my opinion, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I am short the dollar. I'm short dollar yen, right? I'm long euro dollar. I'm short dollar Canada. I'm long Aussie against US dollar. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is. If you see it through the lens of MMT, that's what you got to do for the next 4 years. I mean, that to me is more of a lock trade than the whole stimulus. The stimulus, we got to see what's going to happen, and we'll know, and it's not going to be a problem. I mean, we will know. But right now, it seems to me what's a lock is that you're going to have a bear market in Treasuries for the next 4 years. So the TBT, you buy that on dips, right? I trade Treasury futures. You sell rallies there. I mean, to me, that looks pretty much like a lock. You also, although most people don't understand this and most people don't see it right now, the dollar is topping out. We'll come back. I'm sure we're going to come back to this video or a number of videos that I have made over the last, several weeks, the last month and a half about the dollar topping out. Just like, when I made that video back in 2009 where I said the dollar was making a major long-term bottom, it wasn't the next day that you were able to go back and look at that video and say, oh yeah, Mike was absolutely right. He caught it right at that moment. But you go back and look at it now. Remember that guy spoke about people here saying, oh, your timing is so bad. Your timing is so bad. Because, here's another thing, folks. I was going to mention this last time about Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee said, when you're pointing to the moon, don't look at your finger. Because if you do, you will miss all the beauty of what's out there in the heavens. Okay? That is a profound comment. In other words, don't look at your finger, the little micro, like this guy who said to me, your service is no good because the timing is no good. When? For the next hour? For the next day? Go back in 2009. When I made that video in 2009 that the dollar was making a major bottom, you could not have had. And that's exactly the time when it was making that major bottom. Now, the next day after I made that, if you had listened to that video, you could have said, Mike Norman, he doesn't know what he's talking about. His timing is terrible. Maybe the next week, maybe the next month, maybe the next 6 months after that, if you had watched that video, you would have said, his timing is terrible. But what about now? All right? Remember, don't look at your finger, or you will miss all the beauty of what's out there in the heavens. In other words, Bruce Lee was saying the big picture. The big picture. It's about that macro understanding. It's about having your mind open to all the information that is out there. And the way is out there. The way is not here at the end of my finger. The way is out there. Beautiful stuff, Bruce Lee.